getting into like what does this mean for the Batman Part 2 and all that. I have a lot of thoughts about this, honestly, because we saw the bat signal up at the end. And speaking of bat signals, like, hey guys, how you doing? Subscribe while you're here, while you're hanging out with us. We appreciate it. One thing I really liked is I guess now at this point it's it's 5:30 on Monday night when we're recording this, and I've had a lot of time to sit, and I think this is part of the reason why I couldn't sleep last night was because, like, as somebody who loves this shit and is all in this, like, I've had my brain has been running wild with what does this mean for the Batman Part 2 and connecting dots. And one thing I will say I noticed is, because I even put this up in the poll as a joke, but ultimately, like, the question is going to come down to where has Batman been throughout all of this? We're by the end, from beginning to the time when the bat signal goes up at the end of this show, we're assuming it's been
a month,
2 months. Well, no. The beginning of the show.
Yes.
To the end of the final episode, it's been, I think, 2-3 months.
Well, because if it was 2 months, it'd be Christmas.
Well, okay, no, so it would be 2 months. It would be 2 months then, because he said that this picks up. Well, no shit.
So it's got like 6 weeks max.
Maybe 6 weeks.
A month minimum, 6 weeks.
Yeah. 4 to 6 weeks.
So there's a point, I think, if you've been listening to our review, I'll just reiterate it. There's a point in the show where it's like, this is all maybe a week. I'm buying Batman's not on this.
Yeah.
But then there's an obvious time gap of a week or two where they're actively pumping this drug into society, where I'm like, okay, at this point, Batman should be on. And I said, like, I'm not saying I want him in the show.
Right. No, I get it.
Even if it's like hey, we lost Timmy. Batman got him, but we got the rest of the stuff. He's on to us. We need to change, or we need to do something different.
Right.
Just that is enough to go like, hey, Batman's at least doing something, and I think that's where for this, it's like, okay, so I theorized if the second Batman movie happens congruent with this show, and that's the end of,
like they happen at the exact same time.
Yeah, at the same time.
Okay. So you're suggesting, what if the Batman Part 2 picks up 30 seconds after the first movie ended, just like the Penguin did, and it ends where the Penguin ended?
Yes. So that we know the third movie is them going head to head. That makes zero sense.
I think, I was gonna say, I think the only pushback on that I have is the fact that Matt Reeves has explicitly said that Batman Part 2 takes place after the Penguin.
Okay. But there's that. I think that's where, to me, like, there has to be something why he's not there.
And I hear that. So and again, we've talked about this in chunks in the episode reviews.
Yes.
And also just because I know Matt Hasso and I knew he was going to ask these questions, I've had a lot of time to think about what my answers would be. The planned rebuttal. So a couple things on that. And I know a lot of this is going to sound like I'm grasping at straws, but that's kind of my job.
No, it's all good.
That was more for the people at home.
Okay. Yeah, people.
So I feel like, you notice that at no point is Batman's name is mentioned, like, at all, like, even once.
Yeah. And
the more I really had to think about that, like, okay, like, I got to put myself in this world, and I actually went back through some of our previous episode reviews, and there was a point one of us brought up, which is that, like, this is a Batman he's not plugged into everything yet. He's still wildly dependent on what Gordon brings him. So, like, everything, here's what I will say, everything up to the explosion, I could understand Batman not being involved in.
Yeah.
Because everything up to that point has just been mobsters killing mobsters and stuff that the police are more than capable of handling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Plus, also, like in the movie, I mean, truly one of the best sequences in that movie is that opening sequence where we see a whole montage of 5 different crimes going on, and Batman's like, I can only be at one.
Yeah.
That's point number 2. Point number 3 is, and this is a weaker point, but like, they try to establish in the first episode that like Batman's been assisting with the recovery effort. The implication there could be that Batman's also, because there is that idea of Bruce Wayne is still kind of an out of touch 1%er.
Yeah.
The idea that Batman's not dealing with Crown Point, that he's only dealing with what's happening over there. It's that's another point. And then I think the other thing I would and one thing we've brought up before is like, we didn't see him doesn't mean he's not doing shit, because again, Batman got into the Iceberg Lounge 3 times and Batman only knows about 2 of them. Penguin only knows about 2 of them. Which kind of then takes me to my other point, which is I think the reason nobody even talks about Batman is that because I honestly feel like everyone just kind of fucking forgets about him in this world, because he's still so new. Because if you remember in the first movie, when he goes to the Iceberg Lounge the first time, he knocks on the door and doesn't get in. Like, it takes him a minute to get into the Iceberg Lounge.
Well, and he also says
in there,
he's only been doing it a year.
Well, exactly. That's my point, is like, they still just refer to him as just some masked vigilante, some freak. That was in the movie was the first time Penguin had ever seen him. Because he's like, wow, you're everything they say you are, aren't you? Hey, I'm Oz. They call him Vengeance. No one knows what to call him. So like, and then I think the thing that really drives that home is at the end when he's dancing with Eve, and the editing choice on this was so good, and there's no way this wasn't deliberate. But when he says, he's talking to Eve, and she's like, you're on top of the world. There's no one left to stand in your way. You got nothing left to stop you. Bat signal. They have forgotten that Batman exists, and because Batman is still so new in this world, they don't consider him a threat. Well, you know what I mean? I feel like that all of that circles the drain of, I get why Batman's not here and why they're not worried about him. I think that's what the next movie is going to be, which is like, because that was kind of what was set up at the end of the first movie, which is like, I've been operating in the shadows, just scaring the shit out of people. That's why, but the movie ends with him in the light with somebody reaching out for him for help, not wanting to be away from him. So I think that's going to be a lot of part 2, is that transition of Batman. We're going to start to see what that transition looks like, I think.
Oh, and even I'll even add to it, like, Sophia has been in Arkham this whole time. Mm-hmm. Does she even have a clue he exists?
Oh, Batman, that's a good point. Oh my God.
Like, he comes out.
Considered that.
It's not like Penguin goes, hey, so Sophia, how you doing? By the way, there's this guy called Mr. Vengeance.
Holy shit. I never even thought about that, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because the whole time I'm thinking like, why is I never put that together. She's been in Arkham the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Shit.
There may be people who think he's a myth. It's, again, I don't know.
You're right. There's people who straight out there just like they don't know anything about this guy. He saves a guy in the first few minutes of the movie, and then the guy is like, please don't hurt me.
No.
So
yeah, I think that's, I mean, again,
shit, man.
Well, that's why, like I said, I didn't need to see him in the show.
Yeah.
I just needed something that said he's there. More than the thing at the end. But again, as you're saying, if this is a bridge between the two, that just may be what this next movie is just them going toe to toe. I hope
Well,
that's what it is.
And we should talk a bit about this, because again, we talked about it in the episode review, but we haven't really talked about it on the podcast, which is, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Penguin's at least going to be a big bad or a main villain of the next movie. Yeah. He's clearly like the top, because oh man, oh god, I just thought of something. So yes, that's right, Oz. There is no one else in your way. That means you're all that's left to take down.
Yeah.
You're it, buddy. Congratulations. There's no one else. Like, at least if the Maronis and the Gigantes or whatever were still out there, they could pull resources and pull focus. Now everyone's just looking at you. You're it, bud. Sorry.
Well, and you could get a little bit of the, like, kind of what happened in The Dark Knight, where we fast forward a month and Oz has been trying to kill Batman because Batman's been in his way, and it's like, what do we do? Insert whatever new villain.
Matt Reeves did say we're going to be there's going to be like a 1 month time jump between the end of Penguin and when the Batman Part 2 starts,
which could be a hush.
Which puts it around Christmas time, and would make sense for it to be a Hush or a Mr. Freeze. But like we said, what we said in our episode review specifically was, the way that this epic crime saga seems to be filling out, is from what Matt Reeves is calling it, is we get a organized crime story and a modified Batman villain story, and they weave around each other a little bit. And in the first movie, that was the Riddler was our DC villain, and Carmine Falcone and Oz was the organized crime shit.
Yeah.
Now, going into the new movie, Oz leading the organized crime, and all the shit with Sophia and all that can be our organized crime side of it, and Hush or Mr. Freeze or in all likelihood Kite Man will be.
We're vying for that.
Kite Man or Condiment King. It's got, or Condiment King, I think, is going to be 3. I think that's going to be the third movie.
It could be.
He's gonna instead of ketchup, it's just gonna be.
I don't think we're gonna get Killer Croc.
I don't think we're gonna get Killer Croc, but also, I mean, hey, look, say what you will about the movie, the first Suicide Squad movie. That makeup on Croc was pretty good.
Yeah.